Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to this episode of the Rosaline Batul Show. And today we're going to talk about successful women and finding love. Now, your girl has been binging on Love Island. So this kind of inspired me to talk about what it means for a successful, career-minded woman to find love. And personally, as myself, I'm a successful CEO. I run a multi-six-figure business, well, seven-figure business in different countries. And I'm married to an amazing man who just gets it, who understands me. And we're raising a very young family of 5 children. My youngest is 2 years old. So how did I get here? Let me tell you my story. I probably have told this story like 1,000 times, but every time I tell it, there's always like different wisdom and different gems that I drop. I've been married for 5 years now. So there's always something that changes and something that I come across that I feel like would be good for me to share. So when you're a successful woman and you put all your efforts into your career, usually what I find, and I know this is not a blanket statement, so please don't take it that way. Just take what you need and leave the rest. But what I find in my coaching career and coaching hundreds of women, successful women who are business owners, is that we hit the post-hustle slump. We hit the post-hustle wall. You know how say that the women who age, they hit the wall in the dating space? Us hustlers, CEOs, entrepreneurs who are female, we hit the post-hustle wall. What is that? Is when you realize that I don't really want a career anymore. And you feel kind of ashamed to say that, or you feel like a failure. And you say to yourself, oh, but I shouldn't be feeling this way because, I've got all this around me. I've got a legacy. I have money. Why am I not happy? There's nothing wrong with you in saying that you want a family. There's nothing wrong with saying that I want to find love. I want to be married. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you failed. Saying to yourself, I want a relationship because I've experienced what it's like to have a career, just means you are a very versatile human being that wants to have a different experience. But here's the reason why you feel like a failure. Maybe you feel like you failed, or you are embarrassing yourself, or you just feel really ashamed for thinking this way. Here's why. Because you've been trying to seek validation outside of yourself. You've been in your masculine energy for a very long time. And the reason why you've been in your masculine energy is because you never felt safe. You didn't feel safe emotionally, physically, financially. You didn't feel safe since you were a little girl. So you said to yourself, when I get older, I'm going to make money. And I'm going to make sure I provide for myself. I'm never going to rely on a man. I'm not going to rely on a man. No man deserves me. All men are trash. I can't rely on a man. I can't trust a man because he'll probably end up cheating, or he just won't choose me. He won't commit to me. So you have all these beliefs in your subconscious mind from childhood. You probably saw your mom struggle. You probably saw your dad get successful and forget about you. There are so many nuances, so many varieties, so many stories that could have led you to here. And I have so many clients who have been working since the age of 16 because of family pressure, because they couldn't find that man. So they dove into their careers thinking that's going to help them. That's going to make them feel happy and fulfilled. And yes, for some women it does. But if you're not that woman that feels fulfilled by her career, that you don't feel fulfilled by having money in your account, you feel like there's more to life. There's a whole world that you want to experience. There is no shame in that at all. I was there once upon a time. 5 years ago, when I was making money in my business, like I was making money as a coach. And for me, that was like a huge win. I felt like I had achieved the epitome of what I could achieve. But then deep down inside, I said to myself that this is so lonely. I remember saying this to myself. I was like, I feel so lonely. I want to share this experience with someone. And I didn't feel embarrassed. I just felt lonely. I felt sad. I felt like, what am I doing all this for? Yes, I have children. I was a single mother and they will benefit from it. But they will grow up one day and they will leave and they will go on their lives and their business. What am I going to do? This is what came in my mind. So I'm unpacking my thoughts here. Don't judge them. Don't say to me, oh my God, girl, you were traumatized. No, I'm not. But in my mind, I was thinking, but my kids are going to grow old one day. They're going to grow up. They're going to be in their teens. They will have their own opinions, their own lives. I don't expect them to stay with me. I want them to go and live their lives. I want them to experience the world. Where will I be though? Am I going to be following them around? Right? Am I going to be living vicariously through them? What am I going to be doing? There's only so many times you can shake your ass on a yacht. There's only so many times you can go on a 5-star resort. There's only so many times you could travel the world business class. I've done all of those things. I'm just like, yeah, on to the next. What now? What's next? I was always thinking, what's next? So you can hear my dog barking. He's a guard dog. Please ignore him. So yeah, I had those thoughts of saying to myself, I feel so sad. I feel like there should be more. I should have more. Or I should be sharing this with someone. I should be like, experience this with someone. So when I did the abundance rewiring on myself, I found just the memories of me having to see my mom struggle with money. Although my mom was very good at telling us that money is in abundance, I never actually felt poor. I knew I didn't have the things that my peers had. I didn't have like a big house, whatever, and the latest clothes. But my mom never spoke about money in a bad way. I didn't grow up with that mentality. I grew up with the mentality that I can be rich. But because I didn't have my dad providing for us and I saw my mom struggle, in my mind, I said to myself, you know what? I'm never going to rely on a man ever in my life. Because my mom did that and she lost her independence, her financial independence. My father stole money from her. My mom was a career woman. My mom had money. She was an accountant. And then my father came along and oppressed her and just took away that confidence from her. So in my mind, I was like, I'm never going to put myself through that. And in fact, I didn't want to have kids when I was young. I didn't see kids as a need. I didn't say to myself, oh my God, I can't wait to grow up and have children. Yes, I remember mentioning to my mom in passing comments, oh, I'm going to have kids, mom, 8 kids. But that's what everyone does. My daughters do that now. But around the age of 12, 13, I didn't aspire to be a mother or a wife or a homemaker. I saw that as like, that's not me. I just don't have the patience for it. And my mom kept saying to me, Rose, make sure you have your money, you have your savings, you have a job before you get married. My mom literally hated men. That's the only thing she ever hated, men. And she did not want me to get married. She didn't want me to have a boyfriend. She didn't want me to have a husband, because obviously we're Muslims, so we were raised upon the idea of boyfriend. She didn't want me to have any of those things. Whenever I showed any interest in a boy, she would literally scold me. Not in a way of like shaming me about you can't talk to a boy. She's like, why are you going to even get interested in a boy when you could just make money? That was a conversation I would have with my mom. So I didn't really grow up thinking about getting married. I never thought about having a Cinderella princess wedding dress. I never grew up that way. Like when I see people, like women, talking about their aspirations for marriage, I never had that. But when I reverted to Islam, and then I had been working for like 4 years of my life. I worked 3 jobs. So from the age of 16, I had been working in sales. I worked in a law firm. I've been working, girl. I've been making money. I made money. Like money was not a thing to me. I made more money than my peers. I was making a lot of money. I had 3 jobs. And I was at college and I was at university. I paid myself through university. I paid my own fees. I was the first person in my family to do that. I was the first of many in my family to do many things, the first, even though I'm the middle child. But when I reverted to Islam, I was just like, I want to get married now. I'm tired of being at university. I feel like I had done it all. And this is what I noticed with my clients, that sometimes if you get married young, then you get to this stage in life where you're like, oh, I just want to have a job. And if you had a job young, you want to get married. I've noticed that combination. So for me, it was just like, I've done it all. I've traveled. I was traveling in different countries. I was modeling. I'd done it all. In my mind, I had done everything I could. I had all the fun I possibly could have from a young age. From the age of 14, I was having as much fun as I wanted. 14 to the age of 20, 21, I was living my best life. And then I reverted to Islam. And that's when I realized that something within me wanted to get married. So this is when I got married the first time. But even though I got married the first time, I was still at university in my final year. And when I graduated, I found out I was pregnant. And then even after having kids, I went to Saudi and I got a job as a teacher. When I was pregnant with my second child, I was in Saudi. So for me, I felt like I could always have both. I never felt like I have to give up one for the other. And I feel like this is where I lost a lot of friends, because they kept saying to me, I'm not providing stability for my children, because I'm very ambitious. I didn't want to let go of my ambition because I had children. That just wasn't a thing for me. But it wasn't like a feeling of like I have to have a career in order to feel safe. That never crossed my mind. I never said to myself, oh my God, I need to be a lawyer, because I studied law. I never said to myself, I need to be a lawyer to feel financially safe. I didn't have that mindset of like, I have to work hard to make money. My mindset has always been, it's so easy to make money. Like I saw how easy it was for me to make money when I was 16. I was making money, a lot of money when I was 16. Like I financed my way through college and university. I was able to go on trips to Spain, Dubai, Germany, France. I went everywhere for my own money. So for me, it was like, I don't have to work hard. I can make money. I actually remember quitting my job just to go and sunbathe, because I can make money, but the sun is not coming back. I'm only get 1 day of sun in the UK. So I'm going to go and sunbathe. Hey boss, I'm not coming to work today. I quit. Bye. And I went to go and sunbathe for like a whole week. And then I found another job, because I've always had that abundant mindset that if I put my mind to it, I can have it. That's how my mom raised me. So I've always had that thought that I don't have to give up anything in order to have something. That's stupid. That's stupid thinking. Like, do I have to give up my arm in order to walk? No. Do I have to give up my eye in order to have money? I can have it all. If my body is functioning, but I still have money, that means I can have it all. That's just my simple mind. I have a very simple mindset. No one can tell me no. When someone says to me no, I'm like, watch me, try me. Like, what are you talking about? Do you know who I am? I'm Rosaline. So after my career in Saudi ended, this is when I went to this and I got divorced. This is when I went to this abyss. Let's call it the abyss. But in this abyss, I started working hard because I was in survival mode. So I've left a marriage. I have 3 children now. I had a newborn baby, and I started going all in coaching. But this is where I think maybe it's the hardest I've ever worked in my life, where I was trying to figure out how to coach and make money. And I was making money. Even though it wasn't a lot, it was still enough for me to go and travel to Egypt with my children. You see? Like, I just had that mindset, I can have whatever I want. So I never was stuck in this phase of like, oh my God, I've got to give it up. Oh my God, my life is over. I never felt like my life is over after having children. Ever. I traveled with 3 kids to Egypt. My youngest was like 6 months old then. And I lived in Egypt for like 7, 8 months, I think a year, nearly a year I lived in Egypt, and I had a great time. It was so easy. And then after I came back from Egypt, and then I decided to move. There's a lot of things that were going on in my life, things that were just crazy. I decided to move, and that's when I was living out of my car with my 3 children. And that's when I really knuckled in. And I thought to myself, you know what? Let me not hustle, because I was still doing abundance rewiring on myself. I was doing hypnosis on myself. I was reprogramming my subconscious mind. When I was living in that car, girl, I believed I was living in a 5-bedroom mansion by the beach. I kept envisioning myself by the beach, 5-bedroom mansion, living with my kids, having a great time. I didn't believe I was in a car. I had to train my mind to not believe my 3D reality. And during that time, I was making sales calls with my 3 kids out of my car. I would say, this is my office. I'm making sales calls. This is my office. This is how I had to get. And then during that time is when I started thinking about marriage. So I was thinking, you know what? It would be really nice if I was married right now. You know, someone to share my struggles with. My mindset was, I want to share my struggles with someone and I want to grow with someone. Because it's never fun to grow by yourself. At that time, I didn't really have much friends. And when I moved away from my town and I moved back home to my hometown, it was just like, I didn't have friends. So in my mind, I was like, it would be so much fun to just grow with someone and be able to talk to like a masculine figure. I didn't, like, my brothers are not really masculine. Like, we don't really get on. I didn't have my father in my life. So in my mind, it made sense. Like, I would love to just like bounce off a masculine figure and just have that emotional connection. So that's when I started thinking about marriage. And I came across guys who didn't fit the bill. They were good on paper, but when it came to like emotional connection, there's nothing there. And that's when I had to really think about what's going on here. What's going on in my mind? And that's when I uncovered all these memories around not being able to trust a man, not being able to trust a man financially, emotionally. They'll cheat. Men are just like that. You have to get your bag. Forget men, forget men. This is what my mom used to always say to me: forget a man, forget a man, forget a man, forget the men. The men will cause problems. Well, that was my mom's story. That was my mom's story, not mine. But I adopted it as my story because I thought in my mind that if I learn my mom's lesson, I will avoid her heartache. But when you actually think about it, I went down the same road as my mom. There was no difference. Even though I had my career, even though I made money, I still went down the same road as my mom because I had that memory playing in my mind. I had my mom's advice in my mind. The voice in my mind was not mine when it came to men. It was my mom's. It was her experiences. It was her traumas. It was what happened to me, my traumas, the wounds I had around my father, the wounds I had with my siblings, the wounds I had with my extended family. It was a plethora of traumas that I hadn't really uncovered until I did this work. And then when I went into my mind using abundance rewiring, that's when I was like, okay, I saw younger me, little Rosie, being told that she can't trust a man. That men will dog you out. They will leave you for another woman, take your money, and run with it. And I remember having that clear conversation with my mom, and it sparked something within me. It sparked a fear within me, an anxiety within me that I've been trying to replace or fill with money and my career. So I was hustling because I felt scared, not because I wanted a career, not because I thought this is the best thing since sliced bread, not because I thought this is what I want. I did it because I wanted to avoid pain. So you see, our body runs towards pleasure and avoids pain. I was running through the pleasure of thinking that I had financial security in a career rather than with a man or a marriage. And I was running away from the pain that my mom felt and that I felt from my dad, my mom's husband, my dad, right? So my mom was betrayed by my dad, her husband, and I was betrayed by my dad too. And I was abandoned by him too. He didn't provide for us. He's a rich man, but we didn't see any of the money. He had many children. They got to see his money. I didn't. So there's a lot of betrayal that I felt. So in my mind, I create this belief. And I said to myself, girl, I'm going to be that rich that when my dad learns about me or hears about me, that his daughter is like a millionaire, he's going to come to me crying. Like in my mind, I don't know if it's sadistic, but in my mind, I was just like, I'm going to make this man wish I was in his life. I'm going to make him regret it. For me, that was like the ultimate revenge in seeing my dad crying, begging on his knees, saying, please forgive me, Rosie, for not being in your life. That was just like, yes, that's why I'm doing it. That's the feeling I created, this feeling of like revenge, but by being successful. Like my name being in lights and him learning about, oh my God, that's my daughter. I could just imagine, I was imagining in my mind that I'm on stage And my father is saying, that's my daughter, and I'm ignoring him. I was like, well, I don't know who this guy is. You know, everyone's claiming to be my dad these days. And then I'm going backstage, and then my dad is saying, I'm your father. He showed me the birth certificate, and he's begging me. I'm just like looking at him like, what do you want? Do you need money? So that's literally what I created in my mind, like this villain, this alter ego. And that's how I was able to like work so much in my in my teen years. I was able to work so much because I just had this image in my mind. I was motivated by revenge. I was motivated by anger. I was motivated by the feeling of like, I want to make him pay for what he's done to me and my mom and my siblings and my family. But that motivation can only last. It doesn't last long. It can't last long. As a woman, you're feminine. You need to receive. If you're not receiving, you're going to burn out. Your energy, your feminine energy relies on receiving. Your masculine energy relies on doing. Now, if you're a hustler, you're doing that very well. You're acting, you're being consistent, you're going, but there has to be a balance. You have to be able to receive. If the only thing you're receiving is money, money is still a masculine energy. Money is still masculine because it helps you do things. You're meant to receive it in a feminine way. You're meant to receive it in the least resistant way possible. If you're hustling for that money and you're stressed out and you're in survival mode, you are exerting all your power, all your energy onto one thing, and soon enough that's going to burn you out, and it's going to create resentment. So I've seen this with my clients, like money creates resentment, like the thought of money, or the thought that I've spent so much money in my life when I should have saved it. I should have saved it to buy a house or to do this or do that. That's what it creates, resentment, because you're not getting the pleasure that you thought you would get from it. You thought that the money would make you feel happy. And it did. It helps you buy things and experience things. That's what makes you happy. But in the long run, it doesn't. Because naturally, as a woman, you want to build it with someone. Even if it's not a man, if you don't have that community of other women around you. Even if you don't have that community of women around you that understand you, who are supporting you, helping you, building with you too. If you don't have that support system, you're also going to feel resentful towards money. So for me, I had this alter ego of just making my dad pay and making him regret what he did to me. That only lasted, it didn't last long. When I hit the stage in my business where I was like, this is not working. Like, I need a man. I'm going to hold my hands up. I need a man. That's what I said to myself. I actually remember saying to God, after I had conversations with guys who just didn't fit the bill, I remember saying to God, you know, God, it's fine. I'm going to remain single. I vow to remain single and just raise my kids. And I'll be happy with that. It's fine, God. Like, I promise. I'm going to be single now. Because there's no men out there who men who like really I connect with. There's no man out there. I don't think there's a man like that. A man who I can emotionally connect with, build with, have a legacy with, grow with. A man who understands my ambition and understands my nature and is able to love me the way I want to be loved. I didn't believe there's a man like that out there because I felt like I was being too difficult. And this is what happened. And then what I said to myself, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to pretend I'm married. When I'm washing the dishes, I'm just going to pretend I'm married. I'm going to pretend my husband's behind me, hugging me, holding me, telling me all the sweet nothings, everything I want to hear. I just literally fell in love with that thought. I just started visualizing me being married and the things I'll be doing with my husband. And I acted as if I was married. Even though I was single, I made a promise to God. The only way I could fulfill that emotional need to get married was to pretend I was married. So of course, I didn't tell people I was married. I didn't say, oh yeah, I'm married. But in my mind, I was. In my mind, I was Rosie Batul, married. Married to an amazing guy who just gets me, who loves me, who keeps telling me every single day, you're the only woman for me. I love you. Like just turning me on every single day. Every day I wake up, I look at him, I'm just so turned on. That's what I was thinking in my mind. When I would wake up in the morning, I used to pretend that I'm saying Salaam Alaikum to my husband and giving him a kiss and I would just go about my day. And for some reason, just being in that state really fulfilled me. In fact, it helped me make my first 4 figures in business in that month. Just by being in that state of feeling married, like feeling so fulfilled emotionally. And you're probably thinking like, okay, sexually, were you masturbating? No, girl, I wasn't masturbating. Masturbating's haram. But because I felt so fulfilled emotionally, that thought never came to my mind. I realized that when women masturbate because they haven't fulfilled that emotional need, they think that sex would fill that emotional need. That's because you have that father wound. You have that wound around the masculine energy where you didn't feel protected or safe. Because when you feel safe and protected, you don't feel the need to have sex with just random men or just put yourself out there without commitment. When you have that safe masculine role in your life, you don't feel the need to go and have sex with a man who doesn't want to commit to you. Or you don't feel the need to masturbate either, because it's that sexual urge is not there. And in fact, even if the sexual urge was there, you're able to transmute it. If I had that sexual urge, I had a business to offset it. So my sexual urge turned into creative content that I would put out, and it always used to hit with people. My content hits with people because I know the art of transmutation. I know how to transmute anything that turns me on into creative pleasure. That's what you're meant to do as a feminine woman. You're meant to use that sexual urge, your sexual chemistry, your sexual energy. You're meant to transmute it into a creative force. When you think about it, when a woman has intercourse with a man, the possible results of having intercourse is a baby. That's creative. That's a creation, right? So you're meant to use that energy to transmute it into something that's going to produce value into the world. And the way I did that was by creating content, selling my programs, going into coaching, being the best hypnotist in town, because girl, I'm the best hypnotist in town. I can get people results in like 5 minutes. I've done it so many times. That's because I learned the art of being fulfilled emotionally and choosing the emotion that I want and believing in my visualizations rather than my 3D reality. And then whatever feelings I had of like pain, pleasure that I couldn't act upon, like if at that time I wasn't married, I couldn't go and find a man to have sex with, and I couldn't masturbate. So instead, I turned it into creative content. Same with pain. When I felt like, oh, I have no one to share my money with, or I have no one just to like build with. I have no one to, I had my children to share my money with, don't get me wrong. But it's like, you know, when you go on a holiday and you just feel like, oh, I'm on holiday with my spouse, with my husband. And if I want to buy something, I can buy it. That kind of feeling, I wanted that feeling because I saw it so much around on social media. I was like, I want that. And whenever I felt the pain of that, of not being married, I still turned it into something creative. That's what you're meant to do. That's feminine energy. And I teach you all of this in Sacred Feminine Pleasure. I teach you how to turn that pain and pleasure into creativity. So even though I wasn't married, I didn't have no sexual urge. Nothing at all. I didn't feel the need to masturbate. Didn't feel the need to find someone just to have sex with. I didn't feel none of that. Because as women, we emotionally connect. This is what makes us turned on. Emotional connection. Then the sexual connection happens. This is why for us women, we need to have foreplay before having intercourse. If we don't have that foreplay, that connectedness, we don't get wet, right? Your vagina doesn't produce any juices. There's no lubrication. You're just dry as a desert because you're meant to have emotional connection. So I did this experiment. I was visualizing. I didn't even know it was an experiment. You know me, I like experimenting, but I was just so fed up. I just said to myself, you know what, girl? Just visualize. You're married to a great man. Forget everything. And then literally, it must have been like 3 weeks later, my husband DMs me on Instagram. And I was doing a live about the law of attraction and how it links to Islam and how Islam actually created the law of attraction. And he was so stunned. He was too stunned to speak. And then I invited people to DM me to work with me. So he DM'd me. At that time, I wasn't really, I didn't say that I'm only working with women. I had a few male clients back then. So he DMs me saying he's interested in working with me. And at that time, I thought he was a female because he didn't have no pictures on his Instagram. So I thought this is a female. So we just started talking about life and what's going on in his life, me thinking he's a female. And then I think a few days later, I think he tells me he's a guy. Or I think no, because I asked him, what's your dreams? And in part of that dream was about being a good husband. I was like, how are you going to be a good husband if you're a woman? Then I thought I was working with a person who's transitioning. And I was just so confused. And I was like, are you a man or woman? And he was like, I'm a man. I was like, oh my God, I thought you were a woman this whole time. Okay, this is how like there was no flirting going on at all. This is how calm the conversation was. There was no indication to me that this guy was a man, which is great, which means he was not flirting with me. He wasn't trying to get me. I didn't get that vibe that he's trying to get my attention or try to date me. So anyways, when I found out he was a guy, I asked myself, should I continue this conversation? I was like, okay, let me continue the conversation because this is about work. He runs a business. He wants to know more about how to cultivate his mind in order to receive more abundance. Great, let's talk about that. And then anyways, conversation went on for maybe a week. And then he asked me if I'm married. I said no. And he was like, oh, well, that's not good, is it? I was like, what's not good about that? Excuse me, what's not good about being married? Why do I need to be married? So anyways, I was just not interested in marriage. Because remember, I told God, I'm not getting married. And in my mind, I was married. So you have to be a rare gem for me to want to marry you. So when he brought the topic up about marriage, I said, fine, you want to talk about marriage? Talk to my brother. Talk to my brother about marriage. So I gave him my brother's number. And that's the conversation deaded on Instagram. Because remember, the conversation was just business. There's no indication of any flirting, which I loved, by the way. None of that. He never asked me no questions. He just kept asking me about mindset, about how to work on mindset. Because back then I was doing consultation calls. So I was trying to figure out if it would be good to get on a consultation call with me. And usually back then it was like, I would take about a few days for me to get to know the person and then jump on a one-on-one call to see if we can work together. So that ended up in a conversation about marriage. I was like, okay, good. I'm going to redirect you to someone else who can help you with that. That's my brother. So my brother had a conversation with him. And my brother was like, Rose, he's the one. I was like, how do you know? You just have one conversation with him. Are you joking? He was like, no, he's the one. He was like, yeah, he has some mindset issues, which you can figure out with him, but it's not that deep. He's literally the one. And I was too stunned to speak. I was like, what do you want me to do with that information? Am I supposed to get married to him now? And then my brother told me that he's asking to get married to me. And I prayed istikhara. And I was like, put me in the group chat. Let's get in a group chat in WhatsApp. And then he got into a group chat, me, my brother, and him. So I was never alone with him, which didn't happen before with the other guys. It happened after I got to know them, then they would talk to my family. But this time was from the get-go. The moment marriage was mentioned, boom, go to my brother. Get into a group chat. We spoke in a group chat for 2 days. And then we were like, okay, let's get married. And the reason why I said that was because I didn't get no fanny flutters. I didn't get turned on. I wasn't sexually interested in him. I saw his picture. He sent me a picture of himself. And I was just like, oh my God, he is fine. I literally was like, oh my God, he's so sexy. But it didn't make me feel turned on. I didn't feel sexually oh my God, I want to, jump on this guy. I can't wait to get married to him. It wasn't like that. I was just so calm. I felt exactly the way I felt in my mind around being married. Calm, at peace, he's my friend. Just having good banter. Just a very calm conversation. No flirting involved. He didn't even see my face, girl. I didn't send no pictures of myself. He didn't see my face until after we got married. He didn't see my body. He didn't even touch me until after we got married. So a few days later, we were like, let's get married. And then we got married. 10 days later. So I did the visualization work for 3 weeks. Then I got married after 10 days of meeting my husband. And the way it happened was so beautiful. Just the way that the whole conversation went down. No flirting, no talking about sex, no like trying to date me, no trying to like, worm his way out of giving my dowry. None of that. It was just such a calm, cool, peaceful conversation. And even after we got married, we still have that same feeling. To this day, 5 years in, he's still my best friend. We talk about everything, everything. He understands my mind so well. I've never met anyone in my life other than my mom who understands my mind so well. He just knows, like, because we are so emotionally connected, he just knows when I'm feeling down. Allahumma barik. Like, he will come in with some snacks. I'm feeling down, he'll just come in with some snacks. I'm just like, oh my God, this guy knows. How does this guy know that I'm feeling down? I haven't said nothing to him. He just knows. We have that connection. Allahumma barik fi. May Allah continue to protect it, because I've been looking for this my whole life. I was looking for it in her father. Every daughter looks for this connection in her father, where the father will always just be there for her. I never got that. I looked for it in my brothers, and although my brother did help me get married to my husband, I didn't gel with him that way, with all my brothers. And I looked for a best friend in people, didn't find that. But with my husband, he checks every single box. The masculine energy, the daddy energy, the safe energy, the loving energy, the merciful, the understand, everything you can think of, that's my husband, mashallah. But I genuinely believe it's because I had to heal first. I had to let go of the shame around wanting to be married, around wanting to have a family, around wanting to be taken care of. Like, I wanted to be taken care of, but because I had been so betrayed my whole life by my dad and my family and friends, I told myself this, it's not possible. And just remember, if you keep thinking and believing something's not possible, that's exactly what will happen. So from this podcast, I want you to take this. There's no shame in wanting to get married. But please do the work. Do the inner work, because I can promise you, you are hustling your way right now because you're trying to avoid something within. And it's time you figure it out. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your inner child. You owe it to that little girl who needed protection and help and love and safety. You owe it to her to figure out what your next move is, what your next experience is going to be, without any shame or judgment. Like, your little girl, your inner child, does not want to be shamed and judged for wanting to be protected, because that feeling of love and safety is coming from her. It's coming from that inner child within that never felt loved, that felt unworthy, that felt she had to protect herself. And when you're shaming yourself, you're shaming her. So it's time, girl. It's time for you to figure out what you want, what your next experience is, and whether getting married is your next experience. This is what we do. This is what I do in Sacred Fun and Pleasure and with my one-on-ones. So if you're thinking about working with me one-on-one, just click the link below. If you're thinking of working with me for 8 weeks in a group program, Sacred Fun and Pleasure, click the link below. But either way, you deserve the experience you want. You deserve what you pray for. If you're praying for a man, you're praying for a family, you're praying to get married, and you're a career woman, you deserve it, girl. You're worthy of it. You can so have it. Look at my story. Look at my life. And then say to yourself, Rosie can have it, I can have it too. Okay, thank you so much for listening and watching my podcast. Please let me know below what came up for you, what landed with you, and inshallah, I will see you next time. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.